A very good evening. This session of the August House is now ready to kick off. My name is Romeo Busiku, and I'm your speaker for the day. Well, this People's Parliament has been to Moyo District. We've also been to Kabale District, talking about sexual reproductive health and rights. Information is really a core point that we're highlighting within those two jurisdictions. But it's going to be a little bit different within Lira. Yes, I'm really humbled to be in your midst. We are going to be talking about sexual gender-based violence and how limited access to sexual reproductive health and information and rights has actually hampered or increased this problem of sexual gender-based violence. Well, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it has magnified this whole problem of sexual gender-based violence. You notice that according to the police crime report that was authored in July, 4,442 young women were defiled. Yes. And then we also have an estimation of teenage pregnancies and early marriages at 17%. So how best can we navigate all these issues, come up with recommendations? Of course, Mr. Robert Ochaya from Reproductive Health Uganda is going to be narrating to us what the objective of this August House is going to be. We are trying to create an inclusive environment where all stakeholders in this House can share ideas and recommendations on how best we can stop sexual gender-based violence while promoting sexuality education and all the other policy programs that have been put in place by the government. Mr. Robert Ochaya from RHU, please do us the honors of opening up this August House.
The Right Honorable Speaker for People's Parliament tonight in Lira, honorable members of the August House, I welcome you all to discuss this very important topic today, and that is sexual reproductive health. Sexual gender-based violence and how it relates to sexual reproductive health. And we are focusing on young people of Uganda because these issues largely affect the young person. And when we are talking about young people, we know that young women and young girls are affected disproportionately when you talk about sexual reproductive health and rights issues. And so today, maybe to start, I will highlight briefly for the benefit of all of us what sexual gender-based violence is, and I will keep it simple. Sexual gender-based violence is any act that is perpetrated against an individual based on gender norms and also based on their gender. You do something to a person that the person detests or doesn't like, or that is harmful to that person, because that person is either a woman, or because the person is a man, or because that one is a girl, and because that person is a boy. And as I said before, sexual and gender-based violence affects more women than it does to men. Globally, according to UNFPA, 1 in every 3 women experiences sexual and gender-based violence. And if you convert this into percentages, this comes to about 30 or 33% of women. So if you meet 10 women on the street, about three of them has experienced sexual gender-based violence. And sexual gender-based violence relates or has a very big bearing on the reproductive health and rights of women and also men, but mostly of women. Examples of sexual-based violence, to bring it home, include things like rape, defilement, forced marriage or early marriages, and the impact of these vices to our young people. This will result into unwanted pregnancies, and in some cases, this will also result into unsafe abortions, and in worst-case scenarios, it can result into, a person contracting HIV and AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases. And in the worst cases of all, it can result into death. Now, we are all aware that during the COVID pandemic, a lot of restrictions were put in place. It is not history that women had difficulty accessing health facilities during the restriction. But also, that when schools were shut down, parents, all of a sudden had to stay home with their children. It would be expected that, when children are home with their parents, they would be safer and they would be more protected. But you all read in the newspapers and in the media, how there were increases in cases of defilement, rape, domestic violence, unintended pregnancies, name them. Also because of, I think, dietary issues or nutrition issues. Young people have grown very, very fast during this lockdown. They're not going to school. They're home. They're not playing. They're not exercising enough. They're putting on weight. They're growing up. And they look like they're ready for the things that adults do. And this makes them prone to, abuses. And that's why we had a lot of them, become pregnant. Just yesterday, I was in another dialogue where a young girl was asked to speak, and she said she didn't want to go back to school because she had overgrown and she would not fit, in the school. And when she tried to go back to school, people were calling her names, grandmother, adult, off-layer, and all these are actually examples of sexual and gender-based violence. Because you're saying that due to the fact that this is a girl, and you're now calling her a woman, instead of, looking at her as a young person who is just healthy. So, where do this happen? Where does sexual gender-based violence happen? They happen at home. I've given you examples of uncles molesting, their nieces, brothers molesting their sisters. I think you all read in the newspaper where a young boy of 17 impregnated 2 of his sisters. And these are things that are happening. And once these things happen, they have, lasting and irreversible impacts on these young girls, especially. The Right Honorable Speaker mentioned the fact that we have a lot of policies that would have guided our policymakers to address, these pressing issues that affect our young people. Like the school health policy. It has been in draft for nearly 20 years now. So teachers don't have a tool to guide them to deliver, information relating to health to our young people in schools. Recently, in 2018, the Ministry of Health, launched the National Sexuality Education Framework. And this has still been contested by sections of the society because of religious beliefs and cultural beliefs. But we feel that, these small issues are not more important than our young children. Our young children need to grow up guided. Our service providers and teachers need to have a tool that guides them, regulates what is right, what should be taught to our children, and what should not be taught to our children.
Thank you very much, Robert Ochaya.
Thank you very much.
Well, he is from Reproductive Health Uganda, and he gave us a great preamble into this discussion. The next speaker shall be the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. I'm sure she is in our midst. If you can take over the podium.
The Right Honourable Speaker of the People's Parliament, good evening, viewers. My name is Dennis Otim, I'm Principal Assistant Secretary for the District Local Government of Lira. The vice we are talking about here today and this evening, gender-based violence, is a vice that all of us live with on a daily basis, and yet it's a vice that we would live without. This is something that ideally, as human beings, we should be able to avoid. As a district local government of Lira, we keep getting them on a daily basis. The department keeps receiving them. Is it because of poverty? Is it because people have not gone to school? Is it because they are not empowered enough to take decisions of their own? And yet we keep training them. We keep spending money. Government keeps spending money to eradicate this vice.
But then we are still seeing a skyrocketing.
But still, we are still seeing it.
So if you can briefly help us understand, what are the aggregations? What are the numbers? Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, how many young girls have been sexually abused? How many have been defiled in that regard?
At the district local government of Lira, I think we have close to 200 plus numbers.
200?
Plus numbers. And we've been trying to trace them.
That's only young women?
The data is already there, yes. And because we're talking of a period of March to date. And the department has all the data that we can be able to refer to. the district local government as a shelter where we keep these persons, and we try to educate them, we try to counsel them, so that they get back to the society well persons that can be able to take decisions better, so that tomorrow these vices are reduced. We are also spending money as a district local government by offering a number of training opportunities. We are trying to skill them so that even if you have been raped, you have been defiled, you're still a positive person in life. You have something you can be able to do. Normally, our societies, if something bad happens to that person, you're looked down upon, but we are trying to make them be useful citizens today and for the future tomorrow. And I think for us, as a mandate of government, we would want to empower them so that this vice is reduced. I also have the pathways, the parents, the community development officers, the police, the courts, to do their part. Because if a child or a girl is raped or defiled, more often we see that files disappear, or else the parents get and talk to each other. And yet this is a criminal matter that should not be handled at a family level. State must be able to take concern, and the culprits are brought to book. We are following this as a local government. There are cases that we've followed, and these people have been convicted.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dennis Otimoto, for that submission. At this opportune moment, we'd like to hear from Mr. Okello Hillary. He is the Principal Medical Officer for LIRA. Ms. Okello, are you in our midst? All right. So we're also getting word that even married women are being raped by their husbands. Do you have the numbers in that regard? Sexual gender-based violence. It's not only affecting young girls, but even women who are in marriages. They're being raped by their spouses. Do you have the numbers?
Right Honorable Speaker of People's Parliament, our viewers, good evening. As the previous speakers made mention, issues of sexual gender-based violence has been there and has been in the community, and I think it's not about to go. Basing on the current situation where COVID has entered in, there are many causes of sexual gender-based violence. We know culture plays a major role in this. Secondly, we also know that the situation surrounding us also plays a major role in sexual gender-based violence. In a community which has almost everything, sexual gender-based violence is limited. But a community which is stricken by poverty, definitely sexual gender-based violence is at play. And there we cannot run away from it, plus very many others. Now, we are trying to relate sexual gender-based violence and reproductive health rights. When you look at reproductive health rights, World Health Organization made a very clear definition, a complete state of well-being, physical, mental, social well-being in matters in relation to reproductive system.
Do you believe the COVID-19 pandemic made access worse?
Definitely, I'm coming there. When you look at this, where are we having the major problem here? Access to accurate information is very vital in handling issues related to sexual reproductive health. We always have scanty information which does not inform our young people, the adolescents. And where should we get this information? The information begins right from home, before we even think of all those other policies which has been developed. Because a young girl child who is brought up morally and upright definitely will grow in line with shaping our morals. I don't think all these cases of defilement which is reported is purported to be forced into. They went there willingly.
All right, Ms. Okello Hillary, the Principal Medical Officer, I believe you have too much to say, but let's first take a break. We shall return and continue with that submission. You're still watching the People's Parliament Leader Edition. We're trying to create a conducive environment where all stakeholders like Ms. Okello Hillary can share ideas and perspectives on how we can end sexual-based violence while promoting sexuality education within this whole country, Leader jurisdiction to be exact. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this edition of the People's Parliament. We are in Lira District trying to create avenues through which we can create a conducive environment or inclusive environment where all stakeholders can share ideas or perspectives on how we can end sexual, gender-based violence against our young women, while we also promote sexuality education programs and policies that are already in place. Well, before we went for a break, Mr. Okello Hillary, the Principal Medical Officer, was making a point, and I want to give you more time, sir, to continue with your deliberation.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for People's Parliament, our viewers. I was on the point of access to accurate information. Now you see that the first level of exposure is at home, not anywhere else. If we can begin this information right from home, we will try to solve many problems. Secondly,
but before you go to the second point, Ms. Okello, what about parents who are engaged in the same problem? We understand that there are some parents that are selling off their children into commercial sex. Doesn't that exacerbate the problem?
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I was now moving to that point.
Please do.
The second level of exposure is the community where we live. The community where we live is surrounded by very many problems. Somebody, we all know, I'm a parent, we all know a pain a parent would go in bringing up a child. But again, you begin to wonder, what is making this parent to just give away the child in this manner? It means there is something pressing, and pressing hard. Poverty has stricken people so much to the extent that they don't value even the most precious thing they have, like their children. And it has worsened even with the COVID. And unfortunately, you find that even issues of defilement that which are reported here, sometimes the cause is the parent. They see that their daughter is moving this way, and all they want is to get, once they are caught in the act, the next thing is negotiation. Now the police will be involved. The police will also compromise themselves. The parent will compromise themselves. All this is amounting to poverty, which has stricken the community and the society in which we live, to the extent that we fail to value the most precious thing we have. Leave alone that, access to other critical key social services. School would be the best option for keeping these young people safe, because I see that that is part of #1 family planning method. But unfortunately, privatization has disorganized the whole system. Most of these schools are very much expensive. Parents cannot afford. Time and again, these children are sent back home. They cannot be in school full time. You find that somebody is dropping P6, P7 at that rate. Can this person make an informed information? I don't think.
And we also understand that even those who have the information do not have access to the services.
Of recent, almost all our facilities are having adolescent corner.
Nice.
Where they attended to.
This is great.
But the unfortunate bit is that even all these other medicines, these other logistics which would have helped them, they are not there.
I see.
Someone say they are out of stock.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Okello Hirari. He is the Principal Medical Officer and he comes with a wealth of information on the subject we are talking about. At this opportune moment, I would like to open up this August House to the members of the public right here in our midst. If you have a query on the subject, please raise your hand.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and all the members in the House. I'm Team Grace, District Health Educator, Lira District. I just want to add on what my colleague, the Principal Medical Officer, talked about in the issue of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is real, as we have said, and it's happening in the community. And of recent, we had been in the community talking to VHTs, and we found out that there are mothers who are suffering in the community with ill health, but their spouses could not even support them to come to the facility. A case in point, I was in Aromo, and they reported a mother who is suffering in the community, and she's pregnant, but she cannot be brought to the facility. And the reason that was given was that the husband has refused. And I was like, what kind of man is this? Was there love in their relationship when he brought this woman into his home? And she's not the only one. It could be across the community. And this is what is happening. Another thing is on the issue of change of gender roles. Of recent, you know, most of the time they used to say it's the man who is supposed to provide. And sometimes you'll find that there are some women who can also provide. But there's rift between the two, where people want to show that they are in power. And when a woman rides a bicycle, bringing potatoes, cassava, or whatever to the market, the man is back home. And immediately the woman goes back, the person who spends the money is the man.
I see.
And this woman will keep on riding with the child on the back. The child even does not have what to cover. The woman does not have what to cover the child with, and yet she's toiling day and night to get the resources. So that economic violence is also among people in the community. Then another thing is lack of accountability, I would say. You find that men are free to have relationship with these girls, and when the girls get pregnant, they dump and they go to another one. There's nobody who will make them accountable of why dumping one after the other. And it's very normal in the community. And you'll find that girls who get pregnant, another thing is, girls who get pregnant are not given second chance to do or to go back to school. You find the boy who has impregnated this girl is given chance to continue with his education. And yet this girl who has gotten pregnant has been stopped from educating herself. And the responsibility of that child is upon this woman, because the boy has not married her, and the boy has don't also to take the responsibility of this child. And you'll find that this girl keep on suffering with the kids, and you find this burden is also transferred to the old woman who is down there. So that needs to be taken care of. Then another thing is the issue of dowry. The issue of dowry, people take it as a pride. They don't mind the age of the child being married. Whether the child is a teenage child,
as long as there's
as long as the dowry is there, it's their pride that our daughter has been married. Not knowing that the daughter who has been married is going to suffer the consequences of getting married at that tender age. You'll find the girl has the fistula, the parent does not care because they already have the cows, they are enjoying the milk, they are enjoying everything, but the child is here suffering with all those fistula, taking care of the children at that tender age with this man who does not even care, has dumped her and is getting another woman over this because this is already used and wants to get another. So this thing is real. Indeed. And we need to find a way of addressing it if we are to have our community move to a better state.
Thank you very much for that wonderful observation. She's talking about economic deprivation. Yes, it's a wonderful observation. I have another gentleman who wanted to make a submission. Please take over that podium.
Right.
Your name, sir?
Honorable Speaker of People's Parliament, good evening. My name is Geoffrey Ariko. I'm the district biostatistician.
Nice.
I work at the Health Department, DHO's office. I would like to supplement a few things based on sexual gender-based violence and the aspect of the teenage pregnancy. To begin with, the sexual gender-based violence across Lira district, there are a number of factors that contribute to this. In addition to what my colleagues have mentioned, I've seen high rate of alcohol consumption, especially in the northern part of Uganda and apparently in Lira district.
Right.
Many men and women compete via consumption of toxic alcoholic drinks, which causes a lot of problems. One, when they're all drunk, there are a lot of promiscuities that arises out of it. One of which is fighting, that is already violence of its nature. Two, the issues of school dropouts, they can't meet the demand.
I see.
Of the family. Most of the income goes into taking the alcohol. Three, it may also result into a lot of sexual transmitted infections. When a partner gets drunk, for example, men who likes spending evening time out of their homes for a longer period of time, they get attracted when they're drunk, then they get the second partner. And this has caused a lot of sexually transmitted infections and
the issue of teenage pregnancies?
HIV and the likes. So this causes a lot of problem if a partner is infected in the house.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that very, very wonderful submission. We shall call on you in the later stage during the recommendation stage so that you can tell us what we need to do to alleviate these problems. He comes with a wealth of information. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
You're still watching the People's Parliament. Let's take a very short break. We shall return with more of this information on how we can alleviate sexual gender-based violence in our communities, especially Lira District. After this short breather, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the People's Parliament later edition. We are still devising means of how best we can create an inclusive environment where all stakeholders can share perspectives or ideas on how we can end sexual-based violence against our young children. Gender-based violence comes in all forms. It could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be sexual, it could be economic or educational deprivation. When society feels like a woman shouldn't be in school, yes, and it feels like a man should be out there looking for work and so forth. So where does that leave the women? Yes, literacy levels keep on going up. Before we went for a break, we had a submission from the district's biostatistician who did say that young women and men are engaging in alcohol competitions that are leading to so many cases, including contraction of HIV, teenage pregnancies, and so forth. Is this true? Your name, sir?
Yeah, thank you so much, the Right Honourable Speaker. My name is Martin Ukira. Like I said, I represent the Hokok sub-county. First of all, I want to
let us in on some of your findings, starting with this issue where we are getting information that young people are engaging in these drunken competitions, drinking alcohol, which leads to sexual acts.
It is okay. Thank you so much, the Right Honourable Speaker. I just wanted to start from there, because as a district, they've always done something at least to help us move. And close to that, as a district, they're always affected by a number of issues. These are things that I want to talk about.
Is it true?
One of them is the limited budget that...
Mr. Matt, before you go to the limited budget, is it true that young people are engaging in these drunken competitions of alcohol?
It is very true.
Okay, go ahead.
In the community where I come from, and wherever I go, I've always landed on the same. And one thing that I can't fail to talk about is sometimes as a leader, when you approach them and you want to talk to them, sometimes they turn against you. One thing that I also want to talk about is the policies that we have as a government, as a district. With Lira District, I think we have always come with a number of policies that, if implemented, they can help us to sort out issues that will help.
Do you think these policies have been effective, despite the fact that these young people are still engaging in these drunken competitions?
Yeah, like I was saying, sometimes what makes it not well implemented is the idea of the implementation bit of it. When we want to implement, sometimes it is hard.
Where is the opposition coming from?
From the youth themselves. Sometimes it is hard to implement, because when you go to them, like I was trying to say, you end up meeting resistance.
Okay, Martin, we shall call on you later on so that you can give us recommendations on how best we can arrest this situation. If the policies are not effective and there is opposition from the youth, how best can we circumvent this problem? Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
And what better way to understand the problems plaguing the young people than to speak to the young people themselves? We have a young lady.
Thanks, right. Mr.
You can remove the mask.
And the members in, good evening. I'm called Hawa Ayugi. YAM Chairperson, Reproductive Health, Lira Branch. We are talking about the sexual, gender-based violence. Me as a youth, okay, thank you. Me as a youth, I think we also need right to do other things. First of all, parents, we have been denied very many things to do, according to me. Parents deny us right. We are not given right to attend the meetings, programs around in the communities, which we can benefit on.
So the parents don't let you leave the house
They cannot.
to attend these meetings?
They think we might go there, start dating, doing other things. We shall not be attentive. You get it? That's why we are not allowed to move. Secondly, we are not allowed also to go to other counseling places. Like me as a young person, I always mobilize people at the branch. We talk about sexual, harassment, how other people like street kids attack them on the way when they are going home. So, what can be done on us? What can be done on that? To those ones. First of all, first thing we should do, protect yourself as a girl. Avoid moving at night. Listen to your parents. Thirdly, and parents also, they denied our rights, mostly. Some girls are not in school. Why? Parents need dowries. They need money. Like at my age, for example, in a patch, from March up to date, they have recorded 700 girls pregnant. And how can we stop that? Because girls, they are not being given their needs, for example, pads, they are being denied money, so they move out looking for money from boys in order to get pads, to get their needs.
All right, thank you very much. Ayuge Hawa, she's one of the young people who are affected by this problem. All right, parents, you need to give more access to these young people so that they can go and attend these community development schemes where they can get the information they need to empower themselves. If I could hear a submission from a young person. Gentlemen.
Oh, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker of People's Parliament. I'm called Okelu Jimmy.
Sergeant, if you can help him get the mic.
I'm the youth representative, the male youth representative. According to me, I've seen a lot of policies have come in order to mitigate the sexual gender-based violence. But the problems comes from the implementation part of it. A lot of policies have come, but now when it comes to implementation, it's I can say it's slow. Maybe the government bodies may decide, maybe like we are going to do this in order to mitigate this, but now when it comes to the ground, okay, they may come, but now we are within Lira city. But now, who is going up to the other side of Fugu, who is going down the other side? So the problem comes from the implementation bit of it. So according to me, I think we need also to involve other people from the ground there. Let's call them, when it comes to implementation, the groups are already there. Let's first start by forming the groups, the youth group. When we form the youth group, we can select the youth leaders, where we can call them and we train them for them to go and counsel those youth. This will help us in the implementation gap that we are lacking.
Okay, thank you very much. If I could hear from a lady right there, your name and your submission. What you've seen from your community, what could be the cause of these skyrocketing trends?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm called Awoma Kole. I want to supplement on early pregnancy, whereby I want to first give the members of parliament what is meant by early pregnancy. Early pregnancy is the situation where young girls are conceiving within 12 to 17 years. And
so from your community, what seems to be causing this? Sorry? What seems to be causing this trend from your community?
Maybe lack of enough sensitization, whereby some parents are lacking advice to give their children, to give their young girls, of which we the youth, we also sit down and we get the advice from our parents. And secondly, lack of parental guide to adolescents. Right. At our age, or like this age of mine, we used to move anyhowly, even if at around midnight, you may find a young lady like me moving at that time. Even our dressing code, yes. We the young girls, we should stop dressing the skirt at above our knees.
So a dress code is also to blame. But then in some areas, women are being defiled or raped, even in their gomeses, you know, that long attire. It might not have anything to do with that.
Then lack of knowledge on reproductive health. So if young girls, maybe at around 12 years, as conceived, the parents have to take the child to the facility so that we, the health workers, we give the advice, both parents and the child.
Thank you very much for that humble submission. Right. Thank you very much. You have a gentleman right there. Yes, please come over, your humble submission. And then there's that one and that one. Two more. One.
Speaker of Parliament.
You can get the mask off.
Oh, thank you. That's what I want to excuse myself with.
All right. Your name,
I'm
sir?
Jimmy Okotobuku. I'm the in charge of Gurel Center 4. Ogu. About 24 kilometers from here.
I have some 5 minutes for you in the next segment, but you can make your humble submission.
I'm directly involved in seeing these gender-based violence cases, mostly the abused. And we have seen a lot, and we have been presenting them in courts. So, the major cause of most of these gender-based violence is, you know, in rural settings, during harvest season, that is when men have a lot of money in their pockets, especially when they have sold their crops. And because they met this violence physically, emotionally to their women. So at times, when they do this to their women, because these women have they don't have capacity to process the health facility, to go to the court. So at times these cases just die a natural cause. And I would wish the police department would have been invited for this parliament, because we always work hand in hand with them in handling these cases. Poverty always fails women to access medical services and court cases. And when we come to court always, there is always also court backlog and delays, since they have to also at times provide us transport to come to the court, because the government has failed to provide medical workers who are state witness or expert witness to stand in court for these sexually based abused people. So we at times use our own pockets to come to court. So it becomes very difficult on our part. Then the young people, all of us have children at home. You know the age we are talking about, that is the age which is preoccupied with sex activity, sex talk. But our health facilities, the adolescent-friendly services have not been strengthened. The implementing partners have been trying. We have Plan Uganda, we have Rights Not Now. They will just come for 2-3 months, then they just leave those things at hand. So this department has not been strengthened. So you find that when young people come to the facilities, because of shyness, they fear to access these services. They cannot go to where a doctor who is seeing adult people are. They want those friendly services where there is confidentiality, it's private. So all these departments have not been strengthened in most of the health facilities in the Lira. That is what we have seen.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Okojim. Like I mentioned, I have some 5 minutes for you in the next hour so that you can deliberate more on that issue. He is the in charge of Ogu Health Center 4. And with that, we've come to the end of the People's Parliament Lira edition, where we were trying to devise means of how best to create a conducive environment where all stakeholders can share ideas or perspectives on how to end sexual gender-based violence in our communities, especially Lira district, and also how best can we promote sexuality education programs or the policies that are already in place. How best can we implement those? You had submissions from various district leaders and the teachers, the young people themselves. So we are going to be coming back to Lira, yes, next Saturday to continue with this conversation. Just know that NTV is handling this case every step of the way. Good day.